Hello, warm welcome. Adam Eason here, recording this video from lockdown, and due to the topic of this video today, I wanted to be slightly less formal, and I have my beloved local Bournemouth beach here in the background, and here in the UK, you know, as with many other countries around the world that have been hit with the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, there's plenty of advice and guidance regarding social distancing and staying home and washing hands and being diligent and considerate, quite rightly so, in order that the spread of the disease is minimized as much as is possible. And one of the things I think that there's less guidance and advice about, at least kind of credible guidance and advice, is how to protect your mental health during lockdown, during these challenging times in general. Many people are struggling to cope. So I wanted to share something that offered up some assistance in that regard today, and all of which is immediately applicable and supported by evidence. And a bit like sort of radiating ripples, if a meteorite were to hit the sea, terror sweeps across the world in a heartbeat. The media reporting can sometimes create fear as the death toll figures get shared each day. The horrifying themes in a 1973 sci-fi thriller called Panic O'Clock by Christopher Hodder Williams showed many people stricken with this sort of maddening panic when an unknown virus takes hold and causes people to behave like lemmings and destroy themselves. And it kind of illustrated the potential of people's minds to wreak havoc among individuals when faced with such a challenge. Importantly, you know, we need to take the current spread of coronavirus deadly seriously, but also we need calm heads and measured actions now more than ever. And we'll also benefit in a wide variety of ways from doing all that we can to manage and protect our mental health during these times. Back in 1927, Julius Wagner Jurek won a Nobel Prize for Pyro Therapy. I think pyrotherapy is a much cooler name than hypnotherapy or psychotherapy for sure. But pyrotherapy saved thousands of lives. Before antibiotics and when syphilis was a scourge because there was no cure for it, there did happen to be a cure for malaria. And here's the thing, the bacterium that causes syphilis really doesn't like heat. Meanwhile, malaria causes high fevers. So Wagner Jurek deliberately infected syphilis patients with malaria. The high fever then killed the syphilis, and you then treat the malaria, and the patient recovered from both. So why am I telling you this? Well, because you can fight fire with fire sometimes. You can use one infection to fight another. And, you know, as I want to discuss in this video, you can help your own mental health by spreading happiness and help and gratitude and optimism among others too. Many of us are understandably experiencing, you know, a lot of different emotions and thinking patterns right now. We are all kind of, you know, marveling at how different the world looks than it did a few weeks ago. You know, most big occasions are cancelled, schools are closed, public places are rightly empty. That the landscape is very different, and our internal landscapes in turn are subject to just as much change. So this video is therefore about taking care of yourself and your mental health during this pandemic, and doing what you can to spread positivity and mental well-being to others, which happens to be incredibly good for oneself. At a time when we're all, you know, sort of shouldering a lot of anxiety and stress and fears of how the global pandemic will affect us, it's as important as ever to remember that we cannot efficiently take care of other people if we're not taking care of ourselves. And to be effective, you know, you need to stay strong for you and your loved ones, you know, where possible, and not just physically by utilizing your exercise allotment of time, but also mentally. And so within this video, I've included some simple ways that will be useful to keep your emotional and psychological life as balanced and progressive as possible during these challenging times. I think I think setting and having some kind of a daily routine, if your day-to-day way of life has suddenly shifted, you may have found yourself a little adrift, for example, but a sense of routine within these times can help create some sanity, or if that's too strong a word, at least some kind of emotional balance. You can grow bored of routine, agreed, but attempting to stick to a routine as much as possible. I mean, research shared in Harvard Mental Health newsletter just last month, which is March 2019, has found that maintaining a regular sleep and walking routine, as well as waking routine during our after sleep, can help greatly with our mental health. Good sleep is vital for immune health too. But on the flip side, a disruption to routine can sometimes cause emotional imbalance. So, aiming to get up at the same time each day, having a list of stuff that you plan to do, exercising, calling relatives, journaling, having a routine, maintains a sense of control, something that is considered to be a vital emotional need, and something I'm going to speak about a bit later on. You can Google an article that I wrote on that in a much more detail. If you were to Google Adam Eason, why you need routine in your life, you'll find that. But optimism, spreading optimism is something that I highly recommend at this time. Research shows being optimistic increases happiness and health and resilience, which is important for us. Now, some will of course say there is a danger in being overly optimistic, that we could go full Pollyanna and not take problems seriously. And you know what? They would be right to say that. Of course, we need to be careful with optimism so that we don't neglect serious concerns. Those that have ever studied with me know that I spend a lot of time in my classroom championing the work of the great Professor Martin Seligman. In his book, Learned Optimism, he discusses a method to balance our optimism, to get the key. And the key is that whenever you're unsure if optimism is the right way to handle something, you ask yourself, what's the cost of being wrong here? What's the cost of being wrong here? And the fundamental guideline for not deploying optimism then is to ask, what the cost of failure is in that particular situation. If the cost of failure is high, optimism is the wrong strategy. On the other hand, if the cost of failure is low, then use optimism. For instance, if you're having serious illness symptoms, don't be optimistic that they'll clear up on their own and avoid medical care. But if the cost of being wrong is just a kind of minor feeling of disappointment that things didn't go your way, then right now it's better to stay positive, for example. And spread that positivity. The resilience boosting effects of optimism are so strong that the US military implemented a plan to teach optimistic thinking to show soldiers. I nearly said shoulders, but we could all use a little extra resilience right now, right? But what's the best way to keep other people's spirits high? And one way, and perhaps considered the best, is humor. With humor, making people laugh. Humor provides a powerful buffer against stress and fear. One of the things that I've loved during the lockdown are some of the memes and videos that my friends and I share. Whenever we see something as funny, we're looking at it from a different perspective. When people are trapped in a stressful situation and feeling overwhelmed, as many of us are right now, they're stuck in a singular way of thinking. This is terrible, I've got to get out of here. But if you can take a humorous perspective, then by definition, you're looking at it differently. You are breaking out of the rigidity of that mindset. Right now, hugs are not an option. So sending laughs is a great remedy. What's the inside joke or a funny memory that never fails to make you and close friends laugh, or and sending a text reminding them about it. Happiness and health and resilience are all much needed right now. So spreading optimism. And staying connected with others. Loneliness and feelings of isolation can be detrimental to mental health, of course. and making connections with other people needs to be a priority, whether that is messaging a friend on Facebook or having a video call with family members on Skype or Zoom, or, it's beneficial for your well-being. Any communication can be valuable, especially though, connect regularly with, elderly, vulnerable people in your community, your family. Give them attention remotely and focus on helping them in ways that you can. I'm going to speak about that. I just want to sidestep for a moment. Back in 1962, at an all-girls school in Kashasha in Tanzania, a few students had started laughing, but they could not stop. And this behavior that no one could explain at the time, it spread to 95 of the 159 students at this particular school, which had to close 6 weeks later because of it. But it didn't stop there. 217 more girls caught this virus in a neighboring village too, in the village of Nshamba. And it also spread to Bukoba, infecting another 48 girls. And all in all, this outbreak of such, it lasted a year and a half, and it caused the closure of 14 schools, and it affected over 1,000 children. You can go and Google it and read about it. Viruses aren't the only things that spread through networks of people. Attitudes and behaviors do too. Yale professor Nicholas Christakis has studied how this works. And he writes that a network can perpetuate virtually anything in it, not just kind of fads and fashion and trends, but also happiness, unhappiness, kindness, cruelty can all also spread like diseases. And he has shown that altruistic behavior ripples through networks, as does meanness. Networks tend to magnify whatever they're seeded with. They'll magnify Ebola, they'll magnify fascism and unhappiness and violence, but they will also magnify love and altruism and happiness and information. A happy friend increases the likelihood of you being happy by 9%, according to Christakis's research. And an unhappy friend means a 7% decrease. So happiness is more contagious than unhappiness, believe it or not. But it's the scientific version of karma, if you like, with the effect spanning out 3 degrees. There's a good chance making a small effort to make friends happier will flow back to you. So Professor Christakis found that if a friend became happy in the past 6 months, there's a 45% chance your happiness will increase. So we want to be spreading connection. I spoke about sort of staying connected with people and helping connect with others. A great deal of your happiness will come from your relationships with other people. A 1996 paper by Murray and Peacock highlighted that contrary to the belief that happiness is hard to explain or that it depends upon having great wealth, they identified the core factors in a happy life. The primary components are number of friends, closeness of family, and relationships with co-workers and neighbors. And together these features explained about 70% of personal happiness, according to this body of work by the authors Murray and Peacock. But obviously with social distancing, some of us have no people around us currently, and extended time without social contact is considered to be bad for our mental health. The author of an amazing book, The Village Effect, How Face-to-Face Contact Can Make Us Healthier and Happier. Gawande, the author, states, even months after they were released, MRIs conducted on prisoners of war in the former Yugoslavia showed the gravest neurological damage in those prisoners who'd been locked in solitary confinement. It goes on to say, without sustained social interaction, the brain may become as impaired as one that had incurred a traumatic head injury. So loneliness is the equivalent of being punched in the face. Your stress response to both, the increase in your body's cortisol level is also the same. So We may be quarantined and cut off from others to varying degrees, but this doesn't mean that we need to be lonely. That expression, you know, I wonder if you've ever felt lonely in a crowd, or lonely at a party, for example. The late John Cacioppo was the leading expert on loneliness. And he said that feeling lonely isn't caused by the mere absence of people. We feel lonely because we're not sharing with others, we're not connecting with them. And that's why you can be surrounded by people and still experience loneliness. So reach out, you know, send a text, pick up the phone, do a video call, whatever you can, the things I've already mentioned before now, and let people know that you care and that you're thinking about them. You know, we have the technology that permits us to do that. And it'll be good for you, for your mental well-being as well as theirs. It seems like a bit of a strange thing to say, to be active. There's lots of amazing initiatives online of people being active in their own home environments. Inactivity raises blood sugar levels to the extent that a mere 2 weeks of inactivity can hasten the onset of diabetes in seniors. On an emotional level, constant physical inactivity makes us feel sluggish, lethargic, potentially even depressed. Sure, you know, you may not be able to hang out at the gym for a while, and you know, I'm struggling to hold back the tears. I miss my gym. But you do what you can at home. You know, stay fit with a YouTube fitness class, or dig out an old yoga DVD. Take walks as you are permitted to do so. You know, adhering to safety and social distancing guidelines. Last weekend, due to the cancellation of the Pool Running Festival, I'm here on the south coast of the UK. Many of my friends and colleagues who usually participate were doing circuits of their gardens. Some of them doing full-blown marathons. You know, we can get out in the light as much as we can, even if that means sitting on a balcony or being out in the garden, while of course, you know, managing all the precautions that we need to right now. Research by Ulrich and colleagues back in the 1990s shows that we benefit from daylight and sunshine, as well as activity, to help us feel calm and clear and hopeful. So if you can get out or work out other ways to move your body as much as you are able, you're likely to feel better mentally. If you are able to be active, and there are others, and you know, and there are ways you can help others within your activity. That is, you know, ask people if they need anything. Others might need a little more than well wishes right now, you know, and everybody should be doing this, even selfish people, because a little selflessness can actually be the best way to be selfish. So again, Professor Seligman, in his book Flourish this time, states that scientists have found that doing a kindness produces one of the single most reliable momentary increases in well-being of any exercise that him and his team have tested. So while it may make some of you cringe as well, I also encourage you to tell others about how much you are helping other people, and take the credit for it. Yes, really. When people see others helping, they're more likely to help. You'll be infecting others with altruism, and altruism is deeply wired into all of us as mammals. Even rats believe in altruism, or are influenced by it. So a study that's highlighted in the book The Price of Altruism showed that the more a rat benefits from the altruism of a stranger rat, the more he will later act benevolently towards stranger rats himself. So you know, even rats can benefit from altruism, and so, you know, if you have the opportunity to engage your activity in terms that involves you being able to help others, do so at this time. You know, I recommend, you know, trying or doing our best to be mindful and calm. You know, we only have this present moment. In a sense, everything else, the past, the future, exists only in our minds, because it's not actually happening right now. For all intents and purposes, you know, the future is simply imagery, and we can all scare ourselves with some fantasy. And the past is processed through our imaginative faculties. So the reality is right here, right now, and it makes sense to really immerse yourself in it. Studies find that regular relaxation, strengthens immunity and improves mood. But practice being mindful a couple of times a day, whether that's just focusing on your breath right here and now, breathing in deeply, extending the out breath, simply watching your breath, calm your body, notice the colors and shapes around you, list in your mind some objects that you can see and hear and things that you can feel, and watch thoughts floating in and out of your consciousness, like clouds moving across the sky. There's many mindfulness exercises and techniques to be found online. You can invest a couple of minutes, 30 seconds, or half an hour, if you have it. Whatever you're able to do, you'll benefit from mentally. But while being mindful, it pays to develop gratitude too. Gratitude is the undisputed heavyweight champion of happiness. The research is impressive. For example, UCLA neuroscientist Alex Korb showed that the more a person is inclined to gratitude, the less likely he is to be depressed, anxious, lonely, envious, or neurotic. So, as well as being grateful, spreading gratitude, sending a thank you text is an awesome way to make two people happy and spread positivity. You might be struggling to find a great deal to be grateful for at the moment. Some of you may have major challenges being in lockdown with children and spouses. Yet research by Eli Finkel at Northwestern University shows that whenever just one of you in a relationship expresses and feels gratitude, both of you are more satisfied with the relationship. So in the face of quarantined adversity, express some gratitude for your relationship and you both benefit. And do more than just muttering thank you every now and then. Demonstrate it and really feel grateful for what your spouse or your partner is doing or has done, for example. I do recommend that you don't keep checking the news or your news feeds a great deal. There's some craziness out there. It's important to stay well informed, particularly about what's happening in your own community, so that you can follow the safety procedures that are suggested and do your part to slow the spread of coronavirus. However, there's a lot of people who are misinformed, and the misinformation goes around as well and tends to worry us. So, I recommend that as far as your mental health is concerned, that you be very careful about what you read and absorb on social media, and consider, sticking to trusted sources, official channels, for example, and do your best to veer away from conspiracy theories, fake news, scaremongering, and too much conjecture. Instead, consider using the same time to pursue something more beneficial to you, whether that is like mindfulness I mentioned earlier, or self-hypnosis, a love of mine, or, a hobby, or listening to music or something. If time to do such a thing is sparse, if you've got attention-grabbing children like I do, for example, then every now and then, you can gaze out the window and enjoy the sights of an empty street and the sounds of quietness, for example. I'm speculating upon the specific reasons why an odd person is out on the road. You're not likely to get the chance to see such scenes again. So potentially make the most of it. Choose alternatives to watching or checking the news or your social media feed all of the time, kind of incessantly. And with that in mind, it makes a lot of sense to therefore concentrate on the things that you can control. That is, we're in this time of massive upheaval. There are so many things outside of your control, including, how long this pandemic will last, how other people behave, what's going to happen within our communities, what will happen within our professional fields, within our workplaces. When you feel yourself getting caught up in the fear of stuff that could happen, attempt to shift your focus to the things you can control. You know, you can't control how severe the coronavirus outbreak is in your city or town, but you can be in control of the steps that you're taking to reduce your own, you know, your own risk. You know, washing your hands, staying at home, effective social distancing, following recommendations from the correct health authorities, and so on. And you know, actively engaging in the type of things I've mentioned in this video. You know, seeking to protect your own mental well-being during lockdown. You know, you want to consider exploring, you know, I mean, I've kind of mentioned hobbies earlier, but exploring the kind of things that you can do. You know, what better time to open that box deeply embedded in your brain that you always wanted to open than whilst you are in confinement. You know, that thing that you've been meaning to do but kept putting off because of the other thing or that other thing. You know, perhaps you get a chance to start certain projects. Maybe something that keeps your mind active and engaged. Maybe you're a crossword puzzler. Maybe you're want to learn a language, or you're an avid jigsaw lover. Perhaps you could put your brain to use for a short period of time each day. It might be a new skill, or dusting the cobwebs off a dormant one. So you know, you may consider aiming to come out of lockdown as a better and brighter version of yourself. All of that said, you know, you don't want to be putting pressure on yourself or feeling pressured to have to do something major. It's also okay to catch up with favorite TV shows, read a book you wanted to read. You know, tell yourself that whatever it is you're doing, you're choosing to do it, and it's something that is bringing you joy. You might even consider doing some decluttering, clearing cupboards as well as your mind. You know, organize a messy drawer, have a good sort out of some of the items that you thought were a bargain in the previous summer sale. You know, a good thorough clean sometimes does your home as well as your mind a world of good. My own office has had a bit of a organizational overhaul this past week, and it does feel great. You might consider the drawers in your bedroom, the garage, or you know, just a particular cupboard. Declutter can help us feel mentally decluttered too. And I know a lot of people. I just want to kind of go back to that point that I mentioned there. You know, talking about making the most of this time. You know, of course we can waste time with fiddling with our phones and faffing on Facebook too much. But maybe, just maybe, if you are cooped up, it might be a time to start with a project or something you wanted to do. You know, practicing an instrument, writing, or following an online course, or reading the complete works of Charles Dickens, should you wish. And we might emerge from this more rounded and intelligent than when we went into it. Worrying is easy when all we do is worry. But now might be a time to really engage in some deep learning and some perfecting of skills. You know, I'm currently working with a great many people who are taking up my own online courses, and there are online courses and trainings and all kinds of stuff available out there in the world. You know, more than ever. But the point I wanted to make and just labour, you know, not worrying is easier said than done. And that may take some practice too. As I've already said, please don't do anything out of pressure or guilt, and don't feel, you know, obliged to have to come to use your time in this way. You know, do something that brings you joy. There's a lot of coaches, a lot of therapists, and people, you know, advising people to engage in life goals at all costs right now. And I wanted to add that, you know, it's okay not to do these things as well. Don't feel obliged or pressured or stressed. You know, do what feels best to you and what fits best with you. And you know, let's not lose hope. You know, if you're currently self-isolating, remember that doing stuff, keeping a routine, exercising, getting out in nature safely if you can, keeping contact are all vital. But you still may have some time to mull and worry and potentially catastrophize. So, you know, mindful relaxation is going to help lessen your worry, and looking at some different things that you can do. Seeking assistance and connecting and doing the things that I've spoken about a bit throughout this video. It's hard to misuse the imagination negatively when you're calm in your mind and body. So looking at relaxation skills, heck, some of us might still find ourselves fretting. Over rumination is depressing and anxiety inducing, and the more time you spend in your head fretting, very often the worse you'll feel. So mindfulness, self-hypnosis, focused activity and exercise, or indeed anything that focuses the attention outward, can be very useful. Research has also found that among people that spent a lot of time ruminating, dwelling and introspecting, those who maintained hope while doing so tended to be more protected from the depressive effects of rumination. Importantly, I hope that you and those around you are safe and well right now. I hope there's plenty that will help you here in this video, or cause you to go and explore something in a little bit more depth. Do what you can to protect your own mental health during these challenging times, and spread that with connection, with gratitude, with help, with optimism, because we all need more of that stuff right now, and it'll do you a huge amount of good. That's it. I send you my very best wishes. Goodbye for now.